I'm starting to realize that in the American drone industry, specifically 107, most people aren't paying attention to what the FAA and the federal government are doing to ensure you can't fly your drones anywhere you want to. And more likely, you can't fly your DJI drones wherever you want to. Now, they just released in June of 2026 a proposal for UAFRs. It has taken them 10 years to do this. And, there's a standard proposal that comes out and it's pretty cut and dry. This is the property, you can't fly into it up to 400 feet. But what I want to focus on today is the special UAFR. There's a lot to cover in this, and you need to pay attention of what the government's doing. We're going to cover what is listed in the special UAFR, what are they even talking about, what you need to go and fly into that special UAFR, or if you can't, there are 16 different critical infrastructure listings on there, what they're saying that this can apply to. I've done the hard work. I went into every single one of those critical infrastructures and I found all the sub-critical infrastructures they're talking about. And you might be surprised to see it's going to take out most of the United States, specifically in urban areas where you can or cannot fly your drones. In the end, I even did a little bit more research, going deep diving down that rabbit hole, and I found that there's even more government agencies that are working alongside to ensure your drone is not going into that UAFR. So stick around to the end and you'll get that secret. And then the final, I'm going to talk about what my prediction is for airspace when it comes to drones, where you can fly, how you can fly, and what they're going to still do about foreign drones. Hey, I'm Baz. Thanks for following on our journey here at Specter Aero. I wanted to do this update on what's coming out with the federal government and the drone industry. If you like what you're seeing, please keep along and follow, like, and share our videos because we have a lot more coming, not just with drone industry updates, but Specter Aero's journey itself. So it's going to be really exciting, and I'd like to keep you along. Now, I've been doing a lot of research on the UAFRs, or unmanned aircraft flight restrictions. They've taken 10 years of just collecting data, taking feedback from the drone industry, taking feedback from business owners of who don't want drones flying over their business. And I get it. I totally get it. When we talk about the standard to special, the standard is pretty cut and dry, and I think everybody in the industry is okay with it. You have your property lines. Now, that's not just a building, that could be the entire property, and the restriction goes up to 400 feet. All right, they apply for it through the FAA, they get it granted. Hey, you can't fly your drone 400 feet or below into that area. No problem. But the big one is going into the special UAFRs because these are for 5 years. The businesses or the government agency that owns that is applying to the FAA to have that, and they have their reasoning that they're applying it, why they need it. Now, with that, there are key things about this if you're going to fly into it. Also, who it applies to. It applies to 107, future 108, 135, so charter aircraft, and now we have rotor wing and fixed wing involved. It's not just drones. Part 91, and I believe 141's in there also. So this is not just drones. This is aircraft as well. Fixed wing, rotor wing, and they're stating you're going to have to give prior approval to get in there. We don't know what the time limit is. Is it 24 hours before, a week before? I'm sure it's going to be a short time period, especially with 135 being involved, that you put in your flight plans and it's going to get approved before. It might be a really short time period because if you're Part 91, you can put in a flight plan for IFR. And just like your normal IFR, you put it into the system, they approve it, and then you get your clearance. And I'm betting, this is my opinion, while you're flying your aircraft on IFR or even a VFR following, if you put a flight plan in, they're either going to deviate you around or you'll get the clearance going there. Very similar to going into like restricted airspace, your Bravos, your Charlies, stuff like that. So there's some other things that need to be covered that you're going to need to get into those special UAFRs. First of all, you have to get permission from two sources right off the bat prior to even coming in. You have to get permission from the FAA. Okay. Also, you have to get permission from the owner of that UAFR. So if that's the federal government, good luck. And let's say you do get permission, you must have communications with ATC to get into there. And finally, you must have remote ID. So people that are flying smaller drones below 250 grams or for recreation, and you don't have your remote ID, you're not getting in there anyways. So that's already off the table. And this really brings up the point of, does this only apply to commercial activities, or can I just take my drone and I want to fly recreationally and I'm at a park or something and this building's next door? We're going to find out later on from what the government says. But right now, it's pretty vague. Now, okay, so let's get into all of the 16 critical infrastructures. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. I am going to cut this down so we can run through them pretty fast. But chemical is the first one. Okay, don't go around chemical facilities. Commercial facilities, that breaks down to non-residential, entertainment, retail, and public accommodations. We're talking about malls, amusement parks. I get it. I don't want to hit a drone while I'm on a roller coaster. That's pretty self-explanatory. Communications, broadcast, telecommunication, SATCOM, emergency comms. Yeah, I think this one is going to where the commercial drone pilots are going to get approval to go in there because they're already scanning a lot of those towers, Wi-Fi towers, stuff like that. So this probably won't mess with any of the commercial operators having those contracts. Critical manufacturing, primary metals, machinery, electrical equipment, and then transportation equipment. I look at that as car manufacturers, Toyota, Tesla, that's just here. You're not going to fly around those. Okay, I get it. Dams, yeah, don't fly near a dam. Okay. Defense industry base. This one is massive because there is 100,000 registered defense companies and their subsidiaries in the United States. So that's going to cover a lot, a whole bunch. But that narrows down to aircraft manufacturing, missile defense, naval shipbuilding, nuclear modernization, and then space launch. You can't even go near those places right now anyway. So whatever. Emergency services. This is for federal and state first responders and in Homeland Security. I do believe the Homeland Security portion is going to be all of the camps that they have for getting the immigrants in out, how they're doing that. Energy, we have power plants, fuel and oil, which includes natural gas, nuclear, and then they list on there anything that's federally deemed specific site. That's dangerous because they can deem the little shack over there as a federal site. So that's going to be a good one. Financial services, banks, that's a big one. Trading floors, corporate headquarters for financial institutions. Think about how many banks there are in every town, major city. There's a lot. And now they can put these around those banks. You're narrowing down where you can fly very quickly. There's two reserved ones. Out of the two, I think one of them's going to stick because they're keeping them open for comments. One of them's going to stick, and I think one's going to be let go. So food and ag, is the first one that's reserved. I think this one's going to just go away because nobody cares about flying over drones of cows, cornfields, stuff like that. The second one, though, was wastewater. Yeah, they're going to keep that all day long. Water purification, sanitization of waste facilities, that's going to be protected all day long. Government services and facilities that are, they deem high risk, you already can't do that. So, okay. Healthcare and public health. This is really like trauma hospitals and like children trauma hospitals. Anything that has a helicopter pad. Don't fly your drones near helicopters that are trying to save people's lives. Pretty good, self-explanatory. Information technology. This one's going to resonate with a lot of people in the United States right now because their number one thing for information technology was data centers. Oh boy. Some people are not going to be happy about that. Nuclear reactor materials and waste. Yeah. Don't go near the nuclear stuff. Okay. And then the last one is transportation services. This is the biggest one. It's railroad stations, intermediate trans hubs, pipeline pump and compressor sites, electrical substations for transportation, highway, bridge, and tunnel, and then maritime facility. Highway, bridge, and tunnel, and railroads. What? You ain't flying your drones anywhere. Nowhere. So, yeah, let that sink in and think about those because that narrows down where you can fly in the United States real quick. Okay, now, so let's focus on shifting, I should say, is what is the government or other agencies doing on the side to ensure that you're going to be compliant? And they know there's no geo-fencing for DJIs now. So DJI people are getting caught left and right going into, restricted areas. So how are they going to ensure that drones that are not supposed to be in there stay out and drones that are supposed to be in there are okay? At first, I thought it was going to be jamming. Or like an EMP kind of thing. But I was like, yeah, but if that goes and you're jamming, it's going to be in the same frequency. That'll get the same drones that are already out there that are approved to go in. Also, when you go into jamming kind of thing, some things you're also messing with, the rotorcraft and the fixed wing is also. So, their navigation systems, their comm systems, autopilot systems, you can't do that. So I, work with some other people, and it was brought to my attention that a new SBIR or scientific grant came out on the website, the federal government website. And this specific one was an Army SBIR, SBIR, and it's for November Victor 008. Now, the title of this SBIR is Asymmetric Collaborative Counter Swarm. Okay, so that's all about drones, and they want to counter swarms of drones. And it is either kinetic or non-kinetic. That is a big identifier. So when we talk about kinetic, that means explosives, how you destroy something, you could shoot it. That's a kinetic force. Non-kinetic would be like nets or entanglement. There's some really good companies out there that have some really good non-kinetic counter drone stuff. Now let's talk about the secret that I found, because I have figured out that the government will try to do a lot of things and they'll put contracts in different websites. So one of those websites that they put it out is a website for government grants or SBIR, SBIRs. And there's a new one that just came out for pre-solicitation. And it's the Army SBIR, and the last 5 of it is November Victor 008. Now, this is for Asymmetric Collaborative Counter Swarm. It's just for drones. But there's some key points in this SBIR, especially when it comes down to phase 3. Now, the main part of this SBIR is it could be kinetic or non-kinetic. Use explosives or don't use explosives. I'm sure the Army portion of that is going to use explosives to do counter drones. And then the non-kinetic, they're going to use in the United States, especially since a SBIR is all about commerciality and it can be dual use. So the phase 3 is specifically dual use. You could use it in multiple places. And I want to point out what it quotes underneath the phase 3. And it says, I quote, protection of critical infrastructure in CONUS. These are considered soft targets even if they are considered government facilities. We have seen the threat domestically launched drones can have on any structure given how easily unidentified drones have been able to fly unencumbered in CONUS. There's a couple things in there. That's an end quote, by the way. But there's a couple things in there that we really need to point out. First of all, the very first sentence. If you look at the UAFR, it talks about the 16 critical infrastructures. All right? The first sentence of this SBIR for phase 3 for commerciality and dual use is talking about protection of critical infrastructure. They're going to use counter drone swarms to ensure your drones don't get into these. I'm telling you right now, that's what's going to happen. And then they bring out, talking about easily unidentified drones. That's pointing out to your FPV drones. So be aware of that one because you don't have remote ID. Even smaller ones, under 250 grams, don't have remote ID. That coincides with what EASA is doing in lowering their threshold from 250 down to 100 grams for having remote ID. That they're going to get us. I'm telling you right now. And the last portion of this has been able to fly unencumbered in CONUS. That's because the DJIs are not geo-fenced. They are not saying you can't have your drone, but man, they are saying you're not going to be able to fly it anywhere pretty much in the United States unless you're in the middle of nowhere and you're taking nature shots. So be prepared. It's coming. All right, so we've discussed, a lot of things about the special UAFRs that are coming out. We've discussed like what they're all about, how you can fly or cannot fly into them. We discussed the 16 different listings so far of critical infrastructure of what these could possibly cover. And then, I went into the deep dive and showed you the little secret on how the government can kill multiple birds with one stone there, and they put it in different areas of what they want to do to counter the drones, what they're listing, and they'll put it in different websites and different agencies that are covering them. So for closing and what my projection is, I truly believe that they are going to go with the special UAFRs. I believe they're going to go with 15 out of the 16 critical infrastructures. And I 100% believe they're going to, at minimum, use non-kinetic counter drone or even counter drone swarm technology. So I'm telling you, the 107 community really shoots itself in the foot because they just give the federal government more and more ammo to go against drones. We have a video that's out there on the European EASA putting out, making remote ID going below 250 grams and now to 100 grams. That's on purpose. I would not be surprised if that came to the United States, the FAA implemented that. And then, you're following along in our journey. So we're going to have more updates coming out, not only on drone news, but also what Specter Aero is doing in our journey. So please definitely share our videos and follow our YouTube page because we have a lot of information that's coming out and we're continuing to work on the Specter Aero journey. And you can follow us from inside my garage with $0 to a multi-million-dollar drone manufacturing company here in the United States. Thanks a lot.